Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Restorations and Repairs. Today, another Volvo video. This one sucks, I'm not gonna lie to you. This little pile of plastic and springs is the shift gate. And if you have, they're calling it a genuine Volvo rocker arm, but if you have a Volvo and the shifter wants to slap back and forth between regular mode and like where you can shift through the gears manually, then this is what it needs to fix it. It is part number 94635559. I got a genuine OEM one here. You don't need to get one, but I'm not sure that anyone else actually sells these parts. This is not an easy job, only because it's just frustrating. Tool-wise, you don't really need hardly anything other than maybe some screwdrivers, but what you do need is a lot of patience, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have any. So this should be fun. I've replaced these many times when I worked at the dealership, and never once did I find it an enjoyable task. However, it costs a lot of money to pay me to put this in, so hopefully this video will help you save a bunch in the future. Let's do it. All right, you can see here, I've got to have the car in neutral to do this job. You don't want it in park, it'll be too far out. And you can see the problem I have here is it just flips back and forth. If yours is doing that, then you need that. The first thing we got to do is remove this. It requires you to grab this thing really hard and pull up on it. You're going to release that. I know it feels like it's going to break, but I assure you that it is not. And it comes out. Don't do a twisting motion and you'll damage that rod there. Okay, and that's our like push release rod. There, we're going to set that off to the side. And then we have to remove this cover here. And I usually just take a flat blade and remove that piece right there. And then we can kind of pop this up. There we go. It's a little hard to do all this one-handed, that's for sure. And I'm hoping that we have enough slack. And I'll have to put the camera down, but you don't need to unplug any of this stuff. You just need to get enough slack to get to this part a little more clearly. There's a guy that works at a dealership that used to take the whole console here, the whole thing out to do this job. Maybe it's a bit easier, but it sure is more time consuming, and since time is money, we're not going that way. So let me put the camera down. I'll get this thing out of the way. I'll show you how to release the tabs on this bottom piece, and that exposes our shift lock. Okay, so definitely not a one-handed operation. If you're unlucky enough to have a cross country like me, this piece right here is overlapping the plastic cover that you got to take off. One of the tabs is right down there. That was a giant pain. It has enough room to clear, but that's all I'm going to say about that. Here's the piece that breaks. Usually it's either this or the spring. In this case it was this, and you can see how all this sits in here. Here's our shifter, but that is what keeps it. That lock, which sits in here, is what keeps this thing from flopping over like it does right now. So what I recommend you do next is take a picture of all this, because you're going to want to stack everything that comes in your new kit the same way, and you kind of slide it down into place. So let me pause the camera and I'll do that. I'll stack it up and I'll show you. Again, it's going to two-handed operation, so I'll have to show you what it's supposed to look like when it goes in. Pause the camera, rip this old one out, stuff that new one in there, and show you that again. All right, here it is. You can see the spring in there and how it sits all together, hopefully. And you can see the last spring, the one on that side there, hooks to that little edge right there. And there's just no way to film that while tearing it apart, but that's the goal. That is the goal. So the next step is to pull, lay that down for a second, and it all falls apart. We got to pull that out, just a flat blade screwdriver, pull it up. This spring will slam forward, that spring will come out. That one goes into the black piece, and now I'm ready to stack my new stuff up. It's a tight fit in here, but it'll work. Now I'm going to hook the spring to the black piece and put it down on top of it. All right, I've got a finger on this to keep it all in place, but you can kind of see how it's supposed to look. Last thing I need to do is put my new tab in here and hope that it all stays together. Well, let's do it. Here it is. You can see everything's under spring tension now. That positive clasp holding it in place. Cool, well, time to reassemble. Again, if you don't have a cross country, this brace here won't be here, that won't be here. a whole lot easier to slide it in, but you should just be able to kind of wiggle it back down on there and snap it back into place. Now, very positive clack, right? Oh, key on to get it out of park. There we go. Okay, so that's about it. The rest of this I actually can do with one hand. Well, I got to put this piece back in right there. That was a T25 if you happen to have a cross country. Slide that back in there. Not easy doing this stuff one-handed. A lot of these jobs are not terribly difficult, but they're terribly difficult to document properly. There we go. Slide this down in here. Uh-oh, what did I just break? Sounded like I just busted something. Maybe it just sounded that way. That's all there is to that. And put our little card holder back in. If you ever wondered what that's for, that's for holding business cards or driver's license. Kind of an odd thing, but there it is. And then we will snake this back on. Actually, I don't even know. Yeah, let me pause the camera. I'm gonna need both hands for that. So I've slid that back down on, and then we just hit it, and that should be that. Key on. Nice. That's moving a little bit, but that's not too bad. All right, so there you go. You don't need to remove everything on the planet to do this job. Like I said, I know one of the guys at the dealership, and it is maybe what Vita had in it, I can't remember, it's been so many years, telling you to take everything out, take the whole assembly and put it on a bench. Not necessary. And it didn't really require any special tools. Flat blade screwdriver and a T25 Torx, a flashlight, and a whole lot more patience than I thought I had this morning, but I was able to pull it off. Hey, before I let you go, don't forget that I have a second channel now, Farpoint Mowers and More. Hope you'll head on over there and check it out as well. Till next time, my friends, take care.